After Prime Minister Shinzo Abe announced his resignation for health reasons, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga was elected as president of the Liberal Democratic Party and will become the new Prime Minister of Japan. He has a low profile, but on the surface his diplomatic stance towards China is relatively vague compared to Abe's period, making the official Chinese media very excited and claiming that he will establish good ties with China. To understand this issue, we have to look at it from two aspects. The first is Suga's background. Suga was born in 1948 in Akita, northeastern Japan, into a family of farmers. After graduating from high school, he went to Tokyo to work and earned himself enough tuition fees to enroll in the political science department at Hosei University. He worked in private companies until 1987, and then ran for and was elected for the Yokohama City Council, launching his political career. In 2006, Suga took the initiative to establish a cross-factional support group for the then Chief Cabinet Secretary Shinzo Abe, and was appointed Minister of State for Foreign Affairs after Abe's election. In 2012, after Abe took office for the second time, Yoshihide Suga became the Chief Cabinet Secretary, becoming the longest-serving of this position in history. On September 14th, in the election for a new president for the Liberal Democratic Party, Suga won the election with 377 votes out of the 534 votes cast. He said in his acceptance speech that, "I was born the eldest son of a farmer and entered the world of politics with no ties to geographical or blood relations. I will be the president of the Liberal Democratic Party, which has a history and tradition, and I vow to devote everything I have to work for Japan and its people." The Japanese media describe Suga's pragmatic and low-key style as having been shaped by his life at the grassroots level. If he was compared to Abe, Abe is more forward-looking, very good at formulating a grand political vision and then leading his team to realize it step by step. Suga, on the other hand, is not much of a goal-setter, but emphasizing solutions to current problems, such as the current pandemic and improving Japan's economy, which he mentioned in his inauguration speech. The Liberal Democratic Party of Japan is a very large party, and its members are divided into different factions. There were two other candidates in this election, Fumio Kishida, who obtained 89 votes, and Ishiba Shigeru, who obtained 68 votes. Kishida was more moderate towards China, but agreed with Abe's stance, while Shigeru was friendlier towards China and anti-Abe's line. Analysts point out that to a certain extent, the defeat of these two men represented a position of friendship towards China, which was no longer the mainstream opinion in Japan. It is undeniable that the stance towards China has become an important issue in Japanese politics. However, the Chinese media have been unusually excited and positive about Suga's appointment, and recently there has been a steady stream of comments on the Chinese internet suggesting that Sino-Japanese relations will improve. On September 1st, a Baidu search for Suga yielded 5.61 million results, most of them promoting positive Sino-Japanese relations upon Suga's appointment, including questions even like, "Is Suga actually Chinese?" A video of Suga's interview in 2019 with a Chinese journalist about his impression of China was a hot topic on the Chinese internet too. In the video, he says that China's development is explosive, and its cultural ties with Japan and Buddhism make him feel close to China. His word was interpreted as his will to establish a friendly diplomatic relation with China.
やはり日本人は文化においても仏教でありますから、そういう意味で非常に親近感がありますので、ぜひ。
中方愿同日本新一届党政领导人一道，继续恪守中日4个政治文件确定的各项原则和精神。
Is this really the case? At the August Policy Forum, Suga was asked about his approach to China. He mentioned the need to establish a high-level exchanges with China and to build a relationship of mutual trust, argued that the current proposal for an Asia-Pacific mini-NATO would irritate China, and mentioned that he would consider inviting Xi Jinping to visit Japan, again, after the pandemic was over. The Chinese media were very pleased with the remarks, but Akio Yata, the director of the Taipei branch of the Xinbum news agency, said that on the surface, these words are to China's liking. But firstly, high-level exchanges with China is what Japan has been talking about all along. That has always been Japan's diplomatic position towards China. Secondly, regarding the Asia-Pacific mini-NATO, Abe did not advocate this either. The establishment of the mini-NATO means the establishment of a military alliance, but according to the Constitution, Japan does not have an army, only self-defense forces. Therefore, the possible establishment of a mini-NATO is based on the premise that Japan needs to change its constitution, which is also believed to be an important part of Suga's plan to continue Abe's policy. Thirdly, the diplomacy of various countries has not slowed down during the pandemic period. For example, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo visited Europe and Australia, the Czech Senate Speaker visited Taiwan, and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi visited Europe this month. Therefore, Suga's remark of reconsidering Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Japan when the pandemic is over is actually a polite refusal. Abe's attitude towards China has been a roller coaster ride during his time in power, and his stance towards China has become increasingly tough in the latter part of his administration. In a post-election press conference, Suga stated that he would continue Abe's line of pushing for a free and open Indo-Pacific strategy under the U.S.-Japan alliance, but he also hinted that he would have his own personal style.
外交及び安全保障の分野については、我が国を取り巻く環境が一層厳しくなる中、機能する日米同盟を築くとした政策を展開してまいります。国益を守り抜く、そのために自由で開かれたインド太平洋を戦略的に推進するとともに。
Earlier, in an interview on September 2nd, he said, "How to manage armaments is important, including increasing the transparency of armaments in East Asia. We hope to continue to work closely with the U.S." Moreover, Abe has been particularly active before his retirement, making 5 major moves from September 8th to September 14th. First, Defense Minister Taro Kono, who represents the hawkish faction towards China, said in a CNN interview on August 8th that China would have to pay a price if it changed the status quo in the South China Sea by force, which was the first time a Japanese defense minister had said that to China. Secondly, Japan and India signed the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement. The two countries will share logistical and military facilities, amounting to a quasi-military agreement. Thirdly, Abe appointed an ex-self-defense force officer as the Djibouti ambassador. This is Japan's first appointment of a former military officer as a diplomat after World War II. On September 11th, Abe set in motion a policy change by the end of this year that could, for the first time, allow Japan's military to plan for strikes on land targets in China and other parts of Asia. Masahisa Sato, a lawmaker from Abe's ruling Liberal Democratic Party who has served as a deputy defense minister and a deputy, said, "We haven't really emphasized that too much, but the security of the country's citizens is a matter for the international community. Choices we make are because of China." The new act will allow Japan to move from a completely passive and defensive military deployment to a proactive intelligence gathering campaign that can preemptively attack military bases that will potentially attack Japan, which will put pressure on North Korea and China. Finally, Abe signed a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom on September 11th, which was the first trade agreement signed after the United Kingdom left Europe. The deal is also an important step for the UK towards joining the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Analysts point out that Abe has solved the biggest obstacles in Japan's diplomatic and military affairs in decades within a week, setting the direction of Japan's future diplomatic development, clearing political hurdles and opening up the diplomatic path for succeeding Prime Minister Suga. Many Japanese also believe that Suga's nonpartisan status will win him the largest consensus in his party. He will continue to carry out Abe's policies in a low-key and pragmatic manner, while also focusing on improving Japan's economy and people's livelihood. The transformation of Japan has begun.